Your company can help you create a tax-free retirement fund to pay your healthcare costs in retirement.
Today, we're going to show you how. There are a few different ways, but the point we really want to make here is that there's a huge opportunity that's being missed by a lot of individuals for their companies or their organizations to help them out, and that's in healthcare. Again, this is something that we feel like is really missed. You might have a great retirement plan, but if you don't have a plan on how you're going to pay for healthcare, and if it's not with tax-free dollars, then you have a lot to learn.
That's exactly right, Shannon. And I know you and I were watching a presentation last week on non-qualified deferred compensation, which is what a lot of companies use to help their executives who may be limited on what they can save in their 401k plan, or to create some additional dollars for those executives. The problem with a lot of those plans, though, is that while the executive is saving taxes today, when they retire, almost all of that income is taxable, whether it's taken in a lump sum or taken over time. So today we want to talk about a way to show organizations how they can help create similar types of income streams, but do it in a tax-free way for those execs when they're retired.
That's right. And I think the reason that a lot of people miss this kind of tax piece is because while you're working, your healthcare is tax deductible. And so there's a big change either when you turn 65 or whenever you go to take Medicare. And if you're paying for those premiums with post-tax dollars, the people that are really being impacted the most are execs or the higher income earners. And that's on top of Medicare means testing. The problem is bigger for these folks. And again, we're going to talk about some of the solutions, some of the ways that you can plan for these expenses.
When you look at the numbers from a tax perspective, this can add 25 to 40% to a person's cost of healthcare because of the fact that they're having to use after-tax dollars to pay for these premiums, and they're not able to deduct them like they were when they were working. You know, what are things that organizations can do? So first of all, let's understand that if you're a nonprofit or you're a C corporation, then you have the ability to provide a lot of benefits to your executives and your employees in general that have tax benefits to them. So one example of that is we always talk about long-term care insurance. If you provide long-term care insurance to those key employees, you can do it in a way that in the C corporation, it's deductible to the company, but it's not taxable to the executive. If you're a nonprofit, then you can create it to where it's not taxable to the executive. So that's big. Now, if you're an S Corp or a pass-through organization, as long as the executives that you're providing this to are not 2% owners, then you can do the same thing for them where you can deduct those premiums and it's not taxable to them.
Yeah, and one reason that we bring up long-term care is because it's actually not covered by Medicare or any kind of health insurance. And so it can be a huge cost. And when you're talking about $100,000 a year, which was last year's average in a long-term care facility, you know, we're talking a lot of dollars here.
When you look at those executives that are earning more than $400,000 under the proposed tax plan with Joe Biden, at least, what they're looking at is increasing the Social Security tax, which would be 12.4%. So the company is going to have to pay part of that, and the executive would pay part of that on incomes over $400,000. So with long-term care, the fact that you can pay that and it's tax deductible, you actually save the FICA costs, along with the state and federal costs. So that's just one example. Another way is to make sure that you have high deductible health plans that have health savings accounts, because this gives, again, all employees the ability to set money aside for healthcare costs in retirement, that when they take that out is tax-free. The other thing with health savings accounts is that you can use them to pay for long-term care premiums when you're retired. So that's just another way. But a great vehicle that all companies should at least have an offering for their employees and again for their executives.
And really, as long as you offer your employees the option to have a high deductible health plan, any company should be able to, even if you don't help your employees contribute to it, you should offer them an option to contribute to an HSA. and encourage them to just let that grow and not spend it while they have it.
If you sponsor a defined benefit or a cash balance plan, then you have a tool called a 401h, which very few people are familiar with, but that allows you to, as an employer, to set money aside into this 401h account to pay for healthcare costs for your employees when they're retired. I mean, it's tremendous. And there's a lot of companies, a lot of large companies that already utilize this, but most defined benefit and cash balance plans do not have 401h accounts.
Yeah, and we like to call that the super HSA. And one of the downsides of an HSA is there's a maximum limit that you can contribute to an HSA. And is that the case with a 401h?
Well, normally you can set aside 25% of your contribution into it for those employees. So it can be a pretty sizable number. And again, when you start looking at the cost for a lot of your executives for healthcare reaching $1 million in some cases, they're in their 50s and early 60s, then this is definitely something that you want to be putting money into if you have that opportunity to do it.
Yep.
So another way, life insurance. Believe it or not, cash value life insurance is a great vehicle to set aside money in for healthcare costs and retirement. A lot of these policies, not only do they have the ability to accumulate cash, but they also have provisions like long-term care or critical illness that allow you to access death benefit if something happens to you that you get really sick. Having that provision is really important. And again, you can use it for long-term care and or critical illness, depending on the policy.
That's right.
Another way to help employees save for healthcare costs and have them come out tax-free is through Roth accounts. Now, for a lot of your executives, they're not able to set up a Roth outside because of their income requirements. If they're over a certain income amount, they can't contribute to a Roth IRA, but that's not the case with Roth 401ks. So if you're one of the companies or organizations that has not created a Roth component to your 401k plan, you want to make sure you do that so that you let employees in general contribute to those Roth accounts, and then those dollars can come out tax-free to pay for healthcare when they're retired. So just to conclude on all of this, it's really important that you as an organization begin to look at healthcare and understand what those costs are going to be, especially for your executives, because they're going to pay so much more when they retire, and factor that into your planning. Again, if you're looking to recruit and retain good employees and good executives, this is really an important factor that even they aren't aware of in most cases. So
yeah, I mean, in the old days, it used to be that people didn't have to worry about their health care in retirement and how they were going to have to pay for it. And actually, what we've seen now is that it's a top concern of a lot of employees. So again, for retention purposes, this is a really, really good way that you can have a big impact and offer your employees tax savings options to solve a problem that they're already concerned about. And again, it's really going to affect executives that much more. That's right. So if you don't have any kind of a plan that helps your employees pay for healthcare costs in retirement, here are some great options on ways to do that. We have seen recent studies that show that employees, one of their top concerns about retirement is how they're going to pay for healthcare. And so there are a lot of good solutions out there. If you have questions on any of the things that we mentioned today, feel free to comment below or contact us. We're always here to help. And we are Shannon and Michael. Thanks for watching.